Whenever the spirit world sees light realms, particles of light trying to move up, they will send people around you to hold that light down, to keep it dormant, or to keep it in place, or to stagnate it. And they do that through family members. That's the first thing that's going to come to get you off the track. So it's a series of things, but going back to your question, it's a series of detachments. And it first starts from a philosophical aspect. Then it starts with a social aspect, which a lot of people, especially a lot of people, not all, but most people past 50 should have been at a particular point where material items are not necessarily so much of a, I'm quite sure you want this and you want that, and there's I know some, like my sister, my goddess Linda got an uncle. He been trying to get rich scheme, trying to make his millions since he was a damn boy, and this motherfucker 80, and he's still trying to have these get rich schemes. You see what I'm saying? So on one particular aspect, one of the ways is that you've already done it in the process of you had to budget yourself, maybe based on other family members, based on children, but you've gotten in this habit of detaching. You understand? Of detaching. So this is a way the soul is automatically, ultimately, at a long period of time, is going to detach from something. Give an example. We notice it now around the country that the black people that was on crack, the ones that didn't die or get locked up or whatever, after a series of about a couple of years, something happens and there's a metamorphosis occurs and they're able to stop doing crack. Just for the simple fact that the ones that didn't die or the ones that didn't fall into some type of other trap or something based on crack, the spirits were strong enough to a point where as the addiction, you see what I'm saying, was left behind on another plateau. So in so many words, it might have taken a slow process of the addiction, but they're noticing now after 10, 15 years of the crack things that they got people that's been addicts for years, can all of a sudden just lick it, and they don't know what it is. Some of them was able to do it on a faster level, and because they don't understand the process of the spirit world, they think it's Jesus. They are only going towards the only thing spiritual that they were taught. In this particular case, because they weren't privy to other information, they automatically attributed to Jesus. They know it's spiritual, but because they don't have any other concept of spirit except of what they was taught, Jesus, they attribute it to Jesus. But it's actually the soul that does that. So some people were strong enough to lick it at a short period of time, but even at a long period of time, the soul itself, if it stays around long enough, it starts to detach. When you have people that was on dope for years, all of a sudden they just lose the desire for it. And they say, well, I just got tired of it. No, if the addiction was still strong, you would still be locked in. It's just that the soul, at a certain period of time, it might have been a slow process, but ultimately it's going to transmutate that level. So in all of our particular thing, there's a process of letting go that happens at just a slower pace. You can speed that pace up by basically not getting trapped into the particular aspects on what clings to it, and you can deal with that from the emotional level, or simply just understanding that this shit ain't real. You see what I'm saying? So we'll go back into that in a minute as the spirit comes and answers this shit. But that's the first level of it. I didn't, you know what I'm saying? Now, give me some questions. Mm-hmm.
You mentioned last year, what is her ancient Nubian name? There's a woman that was worshiped, ancient Nubian, the first person that was worshipped. Did you get any information on what that is? Let me explain. Well, listen, it's just interesting here.
I talked about this the last time I was here. There's a series that comes on National Geographic Cable. There's a National Geographic channel. And there's a series that comes on maybe once every 2 weeks called Taboo. And they had a series on there where they went down to some part of Ethiopia. And this woman, a priesthood called Arretia. And there's a woman that channels a spirit called Seti. And although the spirit, they mentioned that the spirit is male, some of these things are more androgynous in origin. And so I thought that was great to hear a name of an area that's pre-dynastic. You see what I'm saying? That is Seti. And I thought that was a great aspect of that. We pretty much can say, because I'll give you some Canaanite history on that and stuff, we pretty much can say that Apep, the great dragon, which is Greek Apophis, Hemmitt, Apep, that literally in the doctrines of the creation of the earth, or the creation of the world through Ra, in one aspect of, it's called the creation of the earth of Ra overthrowing Apep. In Budge's book, From Fetish to God of Ancient Egypt, which I think is probably one of his best books. Why? Because it was the last book of his life, 1935. You can get that one, and in the series at the back of the book, there's these translations. I always prefer those books. That being his last book, and he did spend over 30 years in the British Museum. Over those years, you have to learn something. You see what I'm saying? So I think that's one of his best books. But in the back of that book, there is the papyruses, and one of them is the creation of the earth, of the overthrowing of Apep. Or you can get it in a cheaper book called The Legend of the Gods in Ancient Egypt, which is another later book, where they just basically took the back of From Fetish to God and printed another book. I would prefer you get From Fetish to God, because it's one of the few, it's one that has the entire vignette series. One of the entire vignette series of the Book of Gates that's in that particular book. It's a very valuable book. But I say that to say that literally when you see the overthrowing of Ra, the creation of Ra overthrowing Apep, Apep had to have been a previous spiritual pre-dynastic system that existed before Kemet. Existed before the dynastic period. So in that particular case, one of the ancient names would be Apep or Apet. Remember now, in doing the research, Apet, A-P-E-T, Apet, A-P-I-T, A-P-E-T, Apet. In doing the research, one of the persons that gave most of the pre-dynastic stuff was Jeremiah. And after Jeremiah drafted his 6 volumes, the British government and the secret society just came in and put it on lockdown and used it only in the occult. It only resurfaced in the occult in 1972 when Crowley's successor, Kenneth Grant, drafted his, what later on would be 9 volumes. And all of that would be your Typhonian traditions, which the volumes are out of print, but you can find a lot of Kenneth Grant's. He has a group called a Typhonian OTO that is on the internet. But we wouldn't see a lot of the Typhonian material again for over 70 years until Kenneth Grant in 1970, because Hustling died in 1907. And then Kenneth Grant in 1970 came back, Jeremiah. Kenneth Grant came back, and some of your Typhonian stuff would be some of your Typhonian stuff would later on be drafted in that, but it's coming from the occult world, which was suppressed material. Let me give you an example. The word Babylon, which are all the little rosters and all, and all, you know what I'm saying? If you just, all you got to go do is you understand history. Even when you look at the Rastafarian movement, it's still a biblical movement. You see what I'm saying? Even in the Bob Marley special, when one of the sisters from England went down, she said, it was just a country boy movement with a few people that all they got is the Bible, and they use what they can use to draft that out of and stuff like that. They're using these Bible terms. But it doesn't necessarily mean that in actuality this shit is to be taken literal. What we have found out, and later on found out with Crowley, because the spirit world is ever moving. This is very key on what you're saying here. That the word Babylon that we know of as the modern day Babylon, which would be Iraq, Iran, Syria, was named after a pre-dynastic goddess called Babylon. And as the pre-dynastic Egyptians came out of Hemmitt, they set up a city-state to the goddess Babylon. And that's where you get the Babylonian people from. We know this is because when they translated the Nag Hammadi Library, which is the text that they found in Egypt in Coptic in 1947, the area of what you call the Giza Plateau, where you would have your pyramids and your Sphinx, was called the Babylonian Plateau. Baby Lion, Babylon, Sphinx. And Babylon, in the text, after the series of the people translated it from the 1950s, that Babylon was another name, Gnostic name, for Egypt, or Kemet. So one of the ancient names, now it's interesting here, that would come up in the Nag Hammadi text, and then when Crowley going to the Arabian desert or someplace in North Africa, I think it was a North African desert, he and his boyfriend, Victor Nuremberg, was tracked across there, and they tapped it. They had these Enochian symbols and these Enochian things, and they tapped into these particular systems. Crowley went into a trance, and Victor Nuremberg recorded all the stuff that he did when he was in his trance, and he translated this book called The Vision and the Voice, and they called the Aethers. And in that book of The Vision and the Voice, the book went from 30 down to 1. And the last page from 30 on down to 1, the last page predicts the incarnation of Horus, or Heru, or Ra-Heru Kahudi, or Ra-Har-Cubit in the English version. But within the middle of the 16th or 17th Aethers, because there was these different Aethers, which is these different chapters. In the 16th chapter, this word Babylon comes up again. And this goddess Babylon comes through. So this was an ancient Typhonian goddess that later on Babylonia would be named after. I will say this particular part here, and I will give you this bit of advice. Never think that your only option to learning this ancient material is based on what you can find physically. Nothing is never lost. You can always tap back into the spiritual realm and get the names. So we know that one of the ancient names is Afet, one of it is Apep, one of it is Babylon, one of it is Babylon, and all. And so these are some of those particular ancient primordial names. For what we know, Lakshmi being a form of the Dravidian goddess. Being a form of Dravidian goddess. For what we know, that name has its origin in pre-dynastic Egypt. Pre-dynastic Egypt. You see what I'm saying? And so I'm just saying, so where it pops up or whatever, that's debatable, but we know that name has its name in pre-dynastic Egypt. Because basically, a part of what we call Indus Kush is that particular Dravidian aspect of that. And we'll go into some other part of the resurfacing of that name recently also. But just, but there's several aspects of that you can get in what existing material we still do have. But just remember, if we wanted to know, let's say right now, if we wanted to know what is the original name of an ancient, primordial, pre-dynastic goddess, it's just a phone call away. You can call me in Atlanta, and I'll have the motherfucking name for you in a couple of minutes. It's just a matter of me getting on the spiritual highway and contacting certain images of certain sisters I know that I have, and they'll come up with the name. And it's ironic there because one of the sisters that can come up, she's by her being a French major. It's interesting how these things happen. Now, she's a French major in her college training, which means she deals with languages, period. So whenever she taps into the spirit world, because she's good at languages on her profession, she's the one that gives some names. So it's no different than me calling back. If I had a cell phone, I can get that probably now. But what I'm trying to say, there's ways to get it. And I find out that most of the time, when we get stuff in the spirit realm, sooner or later, there will be some material that will surface. You see, like this name Arsetti, which I was really surprised and really happy to hear, an ancient Ethiopian god or goddess called Arsetti that is being channeled through this particular priestess that's down there now. They went there in the 90s and they got this stuff from this woman. So somehow, just remember, nothing is never lost, but our methods of obtaining this particular stuff should not be the hard-ridged methods of what the Europeans think is valid. So our anthropology should not be set on just the guidelines or the laws of what the Europeans think is valid. We have other ways of doing it. Because when we really ask these particular questions, how the hell did you think those ancient people wrote those texts down? Did they write the text down based on some texts that they got from someplace else, or did they write them down from the spirit world? They wrote them down from a transference to the spirit world on those papyruses. So that world is still active. So we can do the same thing now. That's what I'm trying to say. It's just another avenue to let you know at this particular time on how you can do these things, than to think that my only way is to go down and do it the way white folks do it. They have to do it that way because they ain't spiritual. There's an old saying, when the anthropologists come, the gods depart. That's an old ancient indigenous saying. Give me some questions right quick. What's that, sister?
Okay, I met a sister from Ghana. She said that in her community, if somebody is killed and they don't know who did it, they can contact the spirit of the deceased.
That's right.
And ask them who killed you. You
sure can. Listen, let me explain something else why you said that, which brings up another point. A couple of weeks after I left Detroit, the last time, the sister Kimberly called and invited me and my goddess, Linda, said Dr. Charles Finch is bringing in a sister from Togo. She's the head high priestess of voodoo. But what makes her different, this is a woman, she's born in the cult. So she was not one that became a practitioner. Ever since she was a little girl, they saw this spirit coming to the earth, and they cultivated her when she got here because they knew she was going to be like the high priestess. So she's like one of the top voodoo priests of Togo. So we was up in there and she was giving us all this stuff. First of all, she said that they got this potion that a woman can rub on her hands. And when she rubbed this shit on her hands, she have a fucking line of damn niggas trying to get with her. I said, man, if I get that potion, no matter what age or whatever, they rub this shit on their hands, and it'd be a line of niggas trying to get with her. She could choose who she want. I'm like, man, that'd be $1 million potion. I'm like, girl, you sitting on a damn gold mine. So it introduces the aspect of their alternatives. So I asked the spirit, well, can you give me some alternative? And they said, well, they told me to put, they said, one of the alternatives was to put this particular one together of these particular entities. You can't really see it on here, but these entities embraced in love together. And it's like the Chifa said, they didn't put these statues and all this stuff together in the ancient world just for pretty pictures. They all had a meaning. So that was one way to focus on those particular pictures that bring a certain energy. But in the conversation, she was going into all this spirit stuff, and this is what happened. This is what happened. After a while, I knew the question was coming up because we was at the Morehouse Medical School. Some white woman stood up and said, can you give me any information on AIDS? I said, that's a good question. Here go the voodoo lady. Need to find out something on AIDS. So, the woman said, in all my years of practicing from the spirit world, I have never, ever, ever heard of anything called AIDS. She say, now, people have come to me after being diagnosed with AIDS from the white doctors or from the black people over there practicing Western medicine. She said, but every time they come to me, it's always something else they're sick with. But I have never, ever heard of AIDS. In all of her years, and she's the top woman on the spirit realm, and like you said, she said that, she said that one woman was pregnant, and it was going on 12 months. And basically, she needed a cesarean. But a part of her spiritual system she was in, they didn't believe in that. You know what I'm saying? So they came to her, and there was a certain egg she had to swallow, some goose. And she said she swallowed that egg, and the next morning, the baby was laying on the doggone cover, and the egg on top of the damn baby. Living. What's interesting here, she had a little white doll baby. That's what I knew, that the Africans don't have the same concept of color that we do. Why? Because they're around black people all the time. So they are never, the concept of being, to even come to the concept of what is your skin color, where it being a question, that concept doesn't come to them. You understand what I'm saying? You know, we look at everything in black and white because we have to. We grew up in a world after those particular margins and boundaries. You see what I'm saying? So she had a little white doll baby. Oh, what the fuck is this woman doing with this little white doll baby on her lap? Then I said, well, get past that. They didn't understand the color concept. They don't get that concept. I said, well, damn, the spirit could at least told her. But somebody asked, what you doing with that little white doll baby on your chest? She had it with all the time. She said that she was born with twins, and one of the twins died at birth. And she said, by her being spiritual, the twin fucks with her, and she don't acknowledge it. So she has to carry this little baby around, this little doll baby, so it can get ease with that twin. You see what I'm saying? But going back and on, there's ways to know that too. There's ways to know that too, which has to do with the heart chakra. So we'll go when we go deeper into that particular thing. So that's a very good question. They can find out who killed things and all, and that's what we're trying to say. There's ways I know me as far as, the only thing we're doing here is, we're not necessarily coming with saying, you know, hey, this is the Bobby Hemmitt way. The only thing we're doing is coming to the people who are enlightened, and we're supposed to report our spiritual experiences. And that's basically what this commentary is about. Me reporting my spiritual experiences to a group of people who are enlightened, that you're trying to connect the dots, other than me coming up into you saying, this is the way, follow me. It's not about that no more. You understand what I'm saying? It's not about that. It's a matter of giving you a consortium of information that you can make your own way with it. When you come up against some shit, you go, well, damn, I heard this in a lecture before. And you know, and I know now that nigga is lying, or I know now that this brother's telling the truth. You see what I'm saying? Like that all the time. So, on that particular level. So we now have that particular level of maturity. And that's what my weight is about. Because the sister, she's baffled. She said, goddamn nigga, you don't eat breakfast. You hardly eat any damn thing. Why are you so motherfucking big? I said, because it's a spirit thing. It's the cells responding to the information, the knowledge, and a level of spiritual development, which they talk about in the yogi tradition. You see what I'm saying? Like that? No. So in so many words, that's a level of my maturity into the spirit world that we now have answers for all the shit of what we can get past on that particular level. More like the guru level of shit. You see what I'm saying? But it ain't a holier than thou shit where I got to come on and put on an act. You see what I'm saying? And come up in there looking like the Sheik of Baghdad or some shit like that. So you can be duped into saying I'm a holy person like that. No. You know what I'm saying? A holy person like that. It ain't about that. See, give me some questions right quick. Yeah, what's that, sister?
Can you talk a little bit about the awakening process? And earlier you were talking about how every time a certain level of light comes up in entities will send through family members to hold down the light. Can you talk a little bit about when you go through the awakening process, progressing through the gates and like whatever you might encounter from the outside, from the...
Well, it's a vague aspect. Ultimately, they can't stop the process. That's a broad question as far as what is awakening, because we're ever being awakened.
Well, what I mean is like as you like progress to a new level. And every time you progress, there's like a new set of issues or...
Well, let's put it this way. As you go on, the good part about, the comfortable part about it, as you go on, those issues become minuscule. They become real minor. It's major when you're trying to rise up, but after you get to a certain level. And the reason why those issues are minor is because of the simple fact you have detached yourself from shit that would make it a point of contention. You detach yourself from the stuff that this would be an issue later on because you have shedded a series of things. That's what in the fall of Anana, in the book Anana, Queen of Heaven, she has to descend into hell. But as she's descending, she has to take off layers of, they say her jewelry, her gold, and different things like that. She has to take off layers of things that she has learned in the human world. You see what I'm saying? To descend, then she descends, and she dies for 3 days. Like the Jesus story you got, which lets you know where they got it from. And she's hung up on a piece of them, on a hook down in the underworld for 3 days before she ascends. So here goes again. The more and more you detach yourself from things around you, the less point of contention you will have when these forces try to send stuff and all like that and all. Because the more and more you detach yourself, the more and more you become closer to your true spirit, which is a protection layer. You know, a protection layer. And that's where the heart chakra, which we'll get into in a few minutes, what that is talking about, and that goddess that sits up in there.
So what do you get to the heart chakra?
The heart chakra is the key. There's a goddess that sets up in the heart chakra in both male and female. You see, this feminine principle that we're talking about is not you saying I'm a woman and you brothers got to be like women. No, women got to aspire to that particular goddess, which is unlike the behavior of women down here now. Because one thing about women, they don't like other women. That's characteristic of a behavior right there. You know something's wrong. That bitch, ain't cheated yet. Can't stand that bitch. You mostly likely to get with a male's agenda than you will another sister. So, and that is a reason to let you know that ultimately we're not talking about men behaving like us. That's not what this shit is talking about. This is talking about getting back to a true essence on which we fell from, which women are alienated from. You see what I'm saying? Is what we're talking about here. So we're not talking about feminism, which is a white woman concept, which she was only trying, you see what I'm saying, to get some ease from her white man because she don't give a damn about no black woman. You see what I'm saying? So it ain't us sisters, you see what I'm saying, against the brothers, because whether you like it or not, the brothers ain't even around. They locked up or dead. So you know that our plight can't be the ones that they talking about or you being a prisoner of, because the niggas is prisoners too physically. So we're talking about something that goes beyond the physical behavior. Now we can find certain things innate in women that we can aspire to, just like you can find certain things innate in men. You know what I'm saying and all. You know, innate in men and stuff like that that might be beneficial. And that's just a matter of a union of your own two halves. We both have masculine and feminine sides. But going back, there's a goddess within there, and you can't, and the key here is, this is the mystery to that. Whatever it is, this goddess cannot be lied to. Within the heart chakra, you can lie to everything on the mundane world. But this goddess cannot be lied to. You can't lie to this entity. So if there's something you're trying to get past that you have been able to convince most of the world in your pain and suffering that I'm a good person, I don't know why this is happening. You must take some inventory because you can't lie to the person inside of you. You know what's fucked up about you. You see what I'm saying? And you can convince your ego that you are all right. But that's not the person to convince. It has to be that person on the inside of your heart, which is your true soul. And that's the person you have to convince. And you can only convince it by being truthful. That's what the whole Maya thing is about. But we have lost the Camite version, or let's put it this way, the people from the University of Chicago and the British Museum and those people who've been studying our stuff for the last 100 years is not releasing large amounts of about 100 years of material. And we still get the same little dead stuff in these little Budge books and everything that they got going on. They're not releasing it. They got the stuff. But you can find these things in alternative cultures, which gives us our understanding the reason why Elijah Muhammad said, no, black man, you ain't African. You ultimately hired all that shit. Which means that ultimately we got to use everything on the globe because it's all ours. So there's alternative cultures, the book, The Triadic Heart of Shiva. It's a book called The Triadic Heart of Shiva, where they make mention of that goddess inside of your heart. You see what I'm saying and all. So that's one that's some material that wasn't lost out of this whole resurgence of our stuff. You see what I'm saying on that particular level. So we'll get back into that particular aspect. But give me some questions right quick. You ask somebody, you ask you?
Yes, in getting back on her question. When these forces attack us, is there something within ourselves that's generating these forces?
It basically is, one of the things you can do is two aspects of this. I need to get a cell phone and call home and find out you got 3 weekends. That's why I say cell phone these days. I'm going to try to find out some stuff. You can go to Botanicas, but I'm trying to find out. Let's see if she's back home. First of all, there's a spiritual bath you can take, because whatever it is that's accumulated, you got to get it off you. And you know, the spiritual bath I talked about, I told you this, what you call it, 6 caps, no, excuse me, I don't want to kill you, 3 caps of ammonia, 3 caps of bleach, 3 caps of lemon juice, and 3 caps of vinegar. Put it in your bath water, half a cup of sea salt, and light a candle, and take a bath at least 20 minutes. And then put your head up under the water before you get out, and then shower off. That's the spiritual bath. So we got some testimonials up in here. This brother here, give us your testimony. Well, Lord, give me your testimony. Yes, go ahead.
I got released from my job after 18 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, they kept the white boy that had been there 2 years.
Uh-huh.
So I went to the Civil Rights Department, set up a mediation.
Uh-huh.
And they owed me a bunch of money. They didn't want to release me for 5 years. So I went to the Civil Rights Department, had the mediation, and I took the spiritual bath like 2 o'clock in the morning. I just watched your tape.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't even up on you. That, you know, I just watched the tape. I said, let me try this. I ain't got nothing to lose. Took the spiritual bath. Went in there. The company came in with the lawyer. The human resource lady had stacks of paperwork this thick on me. Telling me how they was going to, you know, I knew they was going to try to discourage or disparage my character. But I was coming in with the truth. So I went in, and the mediator, he just had me tell my story, my side of the story. I told it. Laid it out, had all my facts, all my information, paperwork going back 10 years against the company where they had screwed me. You know, and I just laid back quiet and kept my little notes, laid it out. Mediator wrote everything down, asked me how I'd like to be compensated, how the situation remedied. I told him, you know, I wanted such and such amount of money, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, you turn it over to them. How would you like to respond to this? The lawyer threw his hands up in the air. Like, that's what he wants. We're not even going to take it any farther. Can we have 5 minutes to talk to the human resource lady and we can step out the room? Yep, stepped out the room, 5 minutes, came back. They agreed to it, signed a piece of paper, and I'm getting paid in 3 months.
Good, brother. Good. You got some money now? I was sorry for that shit. You can donate to the Hemmitt Love Party. Hold on 1 minute. So you can take the spiritual bath. There's some stuff that the Botanica gave us, and I want to get the name of some shit you put in your house. If there's anything up in there, it's got to get the fuck out. It's a certain smell. Smell like fucking permanent magic markers. Now don't get you no permanent magic markers. Some stuff you gotta get. It's some badass shit. And I'm gonna get the. You gotta put a 1 on here, just a number. Okay, well I'll just do it anyway. And get the number. I have to see she tell her to pick up. You know, but anyway,
Can you repeat the spiritual bath, please?
Okay, which button? This one? After I mash the number? Okay. That's 3 caps of lemon juice, 3 caps of ammonia, 3 caps of bleach, and 3 caps of vinegar. That's it, lemon juice first. Yeah. Lemon juice, ammonia. Hold on, let me ask her to pick up. If she's there. Hey, pick up. Linda, you there? Linda, I'm in the middle of this lecture. I need to find out what is the name of that stuff that we had to use to clean the house with, that the woman gave us from the Botanica. She got to go get it. And yeah. And so you take that, you put it in the water and a half a cup of sea salt. Put that in the water and then burn your candle while you're taking the bath. And, okay. Yeah, spell it. C-R-E. C. Yeah, I said that. C as in cat. C-R-E. O-L-I-N. C-R-E. O-L-I-N. Anybody ever heard of this stuff? Crayolan. Crayolan cleanser. You heard of that before? It's a cleansing. You put that in your house. You mop your floor with it. That shit, whatever's up in there, got to get the hell on. Now, she gave us something else to take a bath with. What was that? Okay, that's another spiritual bath. It's called Dr. Pryor's 7 Holy Spirits. Hyssop. SISOP. HYSSOP. So it's called Dr. Pryor's Seven Holy Spirits Hyssop bath oil. So Dr. Pryor's Seven Holy Spirits Hyssop, that's HYSSOP bath oil. So they can take a bath with that. I gave them the spiritual bath. This is another one. As well as the Crayola. Now, how do you spell that again? Creolin. Creolin. Crayola. That's the stuff you want to. That's the stuff you need to wash. You mop your floors with. We're talking about cleaning your house so the Lakshmi can work. I'm in the middle of the lecture. I just want to get that now, so I have to get back with you. Yes, love. Peace out. There. Now. That's called ward no. That's called you clean your house with that. You clean your floors. Creolin. And all. And it's gonna linger about a day. The smell gonna be in there for about a day, at least. And they'll tell you how to do it now. And the other stuff, the other stuff you can. That's another holy bath. But that's a way to get a lot of things because one of the botanicals gave us that, and that shit works. So one of the things that lacks me here is there's a book called "A Goddess is a Girl's Best Friend." What's that girl's name? Laurie Ann Brockaway. Laurie Ann Brockaway. And in there they go into Lakshmi and how you got to clean your house for Lakshmi to come. But if you clean your house with this stuff and straighten up, she's going to come and provide prosperity. Now let me see that.
What's the name of it again? Laurie's best friend?
A goddess is a girl's best friend. A goddess is a girl's best friend is the name of the book. Laurie Ann Brockaway. Laurie Ann Brockaway. Spell it the best way you can. You see what I'm saying? But I wanted to read this particular part to you here. On
Who's the publisher?
you don't need the publisher. The publisher is it's about the distributor. Now it's not about the publisher. The goddess is the girl's best friend. Anybody, these people here can get it right here. You know, they can get it right here. Goddess is the girl's best friend. Laurie Ann Brockaway. Now here's one, because see, this is the deal. This is Lakshmi. A poor woman in a city of Puri cleaned her house one evening using rice flour to paint the sacred symbols on her doorstep. So she painted some sacred symbols. I'll give you the sacred symbol to Lakshmi in a few minutes. Lakshmi. Okay. She lit incense sticks in the house and placed a lamp in her courtyard. Attracted by this, the goddess Lakshmi entered the woman's house, and in no time the woman's fortune changed. Wealth poured in. Her cows gave milk, gave more milk than usual. Her friends yielded, her fields, yielded more crops. And there was always food in the house, and a house of storage, and more money, and there was more money than she needed. But when she neglected the house, the symbols disappeared from the threshold, and the house was unclean. No lamps were lit, no incense sticks were used, and Lakshmi was annoyed, and she left the house, and misfortune returned. So it's no a clean house and the different stuff like that it's a connection. Your dwelling place is a connection to your own inner essence. You understand what I'm saying? Plus, they understand when the particular part here that when you clean your house from clutter, you automatically start feeling better. You know what I'm saying? You got a clean house and you come in, it's more serene, you start feeling a certain better. And so what happens here, it allows the spirit to enter not necessarily from just the stuff in your house, but from the clutter of your mind is gone. So therefore, he was talking about still an inroads to the spirit realm. You see what I'm saying? So that's how that whole thing, that's how that whole thing goes down. What time is it? How many hours been speaking?
Hour and 48 minutes.
48 minutes. You want to go at 2 and then just take a break so they can get some food? I mean, we want to sell the stuff, or how you want to do this?
Well, she's selling this stuff already. They're getting food, so we don't need a break for that. I mean,
oh, yeah, Negro needs some break.
Okay.
Now, I'm just saying, you know, whatever, however the deal is. Yeah. Let's go on. So give me some more. We want to end the question and answer, go back into the, what's that?
Okay, you have a title for a book discussing religion and spirituality, and also would you tell us a little bit about your necklaces?
That's a vague question, religion and spirituality. Boy, man, that can be, wow.
That's what you've been talking about the whole time.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I said a book.
Could you will the question?
But I'm talking about encapsulated in one book?
Yeah.
Possible. Now that's on just, he's just dismounting Christianity. She's talking about, he doesn't explain the spiritual part. She's talking about explaining. You're not talking about a book just telling you how.
One that just talks a little bit about both and the difference between the two.
I don't know. That's a big question. I got so many books. There's so many books on spirituality.
Well, that's all right, then.
I'll come up with it in a few minutes and stuff. It's kind of hard to encapsulate one book.
Yeah.
You know, one book. There might be several other books and stuff like that and all. I'll think of something in a minute on that particular thing to give you one good book on that particular level. What that can be, it would be on that, the way you can get the religious aspect and the spiritual aspect. I'm quite sure there's some things, and there's a lot of stuff in my repertoire of books, but I just got to find out what it is.
And would you tell us a little bit about your necklace?
Well, it's interesting here because this particular part here, is a part, this is Lakshmi, but her consort is Vishnu, the East Indian Heru, or Horus, and that's her consort. But if you notice, even in Hemmitt, Heru or Hathor, which is the form of the mother of Vishnu in one aspect, there's a temple, there's a ceremony that goes on every year where the temple of Edfu, which is the temple of Horus, or temple of Heru, and the temple of Dendera is married. They marry these two temples. So they have a ceremony where they would probably come out of the temple of the procession of maybe in this particular case the right way to do it would be they would come out of the temple of Horus on a procession and go into the temple of Heru, because it would be different than what we do in Western marriage where the damn woman is coming up the fallopian tubes to get married to her damn self. You know, the sperm travels up to the womb. You see what I'm saying? Not the woman travels, so they got the shit reversed. There you go again, that white man trying to be a woman again in that whole thing, you see what I'm saying? Trying to copy the goddess. And Diop talks about that in his book, Cultural Unity. You can get that book on that aspect of, you know, that white man who used to, you know, the white man, when in barbarism used to, when he'd get 18, he would get his mother as his fuck partner. Excuse the expression, I'm just saying. His mother would become his courtesan or his concubine. That's some amazing stuff. We're dealing with, so this is the man that we're trying to follow now. You see what I'm saying? But now, going back to this thing, I don't know where that came in, but you know, there's just so much been happening for the last couple thousand years. I don't know where to, but, so it would be, the people, when they would come out of the temple of Heru, they would go into the temple of Heru, which is Lakshmi. And would go into the temple of Heru, and the marriage would be between the two, Horus and Heru. This is found in a book called an excellent book called The Daily Life of the Egyptian Gods. I know the last name of the people is Meeks, M-E-A-K-S. Meeks is the last name of the people. It's still in print, but they go into that sacred marriage. So this particular one of Lakshmi and Vishnu is the same aspect. As you know, this is the heart scarab, which is very interesting because the heart scarab, which means that the Egyptians did not believe that the brain was the most important thing of the body. They believed that it was the heart. Why is this? Some people say, well, why could the heart be more important than the brain? Okay, this is the mystery. The mystery here is, they told us about 10 years ago that intellect is a very low level. The white man, he prides everything based on intellect. And they even look down on you based on whether you're not being intellectual or not. And this is the way he's going around the world. They're not intellectual. Intellect is a very low level. The intellect is only on the level to figure out the processes of the physical world. And it only caters to the ego. There's something above intellect, which is that woman inside of the heart chakra. So let me give you an example. The ego, you can process all this stuff that you think is intellectual, but the ego is inferior and can be tampered and is capable of coming victims to all types of pathologies down here, which can tamper your intellectual process. You know, it's about like white folks can let me give you an example. White folks, whenever the Wright brothers so-called created flight, I often thought that they created flight, it wasn't the 1800s, it was the early 1900s. 1904. How from 1904, 1903 or 1904, literally 10 years later, with the intellectual aspect of creating flight, that you say, I'm going to take what I created with the flight and put a goddamn gun on it and make it a damn bomber. Or, because by 1914, when World War II started, you had the Red Baron, and you had all this air war. So look at the mentality. That's why they're saying the intellect is low. They created something which is flight, and 10 years later, they're killing motherfuckers with it. And I'm looking at this thing saying, can you imagine that? Most people don't even look at this thing. What's that?
Well, they were doing that out of balloons first, though.
Huh?
They were doing that out of balloons.
Killing people with balloons too with that?
Yeah, they were shooting out the balloons and they dropped bombs. That's what they did in Oklahoma.
Well,
They bombed. That was the first bombing in the United States. They were dropping bombs out of the balloons.
On the Black Wall Street?
On Black Wall Street, yeah. That's how they put bombs out of the balloons.
Well, here it is again.
But they were doing that 100
years
before, dropping bombs out
on balloons.
In the Civil War, yeah.
So they started using that. So I'm just trying to say, the intellect is vulnerable to corruption. You get it? So that's when the Spirit said that the intellect is very low. It is the heart chakra, and while the Egyptians say the heart scarab was more important, because it's invulnerable to corruption, because it's dealing with the truth. You see what I'm saying? So it can't be corrupted. That's why they said the heart was the most important part of the body. Now, to get into this particular science, there's a book you need to get. It's called Theosophia by Arthur Verse Lewis. So it's a very superior book. Theosophia by Arthur Verse Lewis. As the book goes to the end of the book, around the last couple of chapters, the science in it becomes even bigger. The book is based on the papacy. It's talking about the mysteries that the papacy of the Pope, and them follow that whole marriage thing. And so they start going into the Camite, they start going back into it from what is the origin of their particular stuff. But in there, there's a chapter called the Apocalypse of the Heart, which means, now he was able to find most of his information to coincide with the papacy. He found it when he traced it back to Sufism, the mystics of Islam. And a guy by the name of Henry Corbin, who wrote a book called Alone with the Alone, Creative Imagination in Sufism. Henry Corbin. He got several books out. But in there was talking about these ancient Sufi texts where the last days of the earth, it won't be an apocalypse out here that everybody's still looking for. It's an apocalypse of the heart. You are being judged based on the heart, whether you can get off the intellectual level, which is fine, that just sustains you in the physical world, and start dealing with the heart level, on how you deal with people and how you deal. And you dealing with people is the way you deal with yourself. You don't do good by people necessarily just so those people can have a good day. You doing good by people means you're doing good by yourself. You see what I'm saying? This is a practice on where it's a practice for your own heart chakra. That's why the Afrocentric and the conscious community, we're usually being attacked, usually by stuff based on what's going on with each other more than the outside people. You see, okay, we ready? Change that. More than the outside people. Cut the jam off. Leave the jam on. Yeah. Okay, we back. Yesterday, this is the one that I really wanted to show yesterday on the tsunami. This is in the Brooklyn Museum. Just about all of your goddesses in the East Indian thing stem from the goddess Kali. See, that's the whole thing. Oh, yeah. That's the whole thing about the messed up part about what the dynastic people did. They got rid of their Kali, which was Apep. But you can find basically Apep being the Kali of Kemet, Tiamat being the Kali of Samaria, Lilith being the Kali in ancient Hebraic. Kali existed later on as Sekhmet in Kemet. But the most severe form, or the most terrible form of Kali is Apep. Doesn't necessarily mean that when Ra overthrows Apep, it just means a new cycle of energy. Most of the sun gives rise to the physical world. And later on, Aset, as a form of Durga or Lakshmi, or different aspects, avenges the overthrowing of Apep because she poisons Ra. So this might seem as a bit of confusion on why would Aset or Isis poison Ra when he got old. In order to understand most of this, you got to go to the coffin text. Ra represents the form of Zeus, which represents, and I think we need to start looking at these things as not necessarily good and evil. You look at these things as certain cycles gaining supremacy over the other. So we got to get out of the concept of, well, that's the devil, that's God, this is this, and this is that. One cycle gives way to the other cycle and is written in mythology as adversaries, but it just means something different. So Ra represented the onslaught of the physical creation, which would be the same as Zeus in Greece, that would represent the coming of the physical creation. It's just another cycle and a period. You know, I talked about, I think the last time I was here, I don't know, a couple of, my sister-in-law did a lecture in Atlanta in 2003, and there was something really profound came out of it because she was able to translate it using the Budge hieroglyphic dictionaries. There was a whole story in there about two Marys. So even the word Mary, mother of Jesus and stuff, that's an Egyptian terminology, and there's a Canaanite version of two Marys in there, and how there was two Marys that existed in the beginning, two sisters, and one sister wanted to extend creation. The other sister wanted it to stay the way it was. Obviously, one sister won over the other sister, because we have creation, or we have the physical world. Well, Ra represents the extension of that creation. The sun makes it possible for the physical world to exist and be nourished. But it's not the end-all and be-all. And as you know, if you go out in space, obviously the sun is some type of illusionary phenomenon, because if it wasn't an illusion, why is it dark in space? You see what I'm saying? If the sun is up there, you'd figure to be lighter. And the sun only becomes bright based on in relationship to the physical atmosphere. You understand what I'm saying? A warrior form of Kali, all these goddesses actually coincide. So Durga is also a destructive form of Lakshmi. Durga here, as you see, and this was the most important picture. It was the only one that didn't come off the computer. We left this one at the house yesterday, but we got it. This is a picture that now resides in the Brooklyn Museum, which is very key. I tried to explain it last night, but it's sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words. So let me get the two forms. I'll get you the ancient form of Durga, and I'll get you this was a later form of the same concept. Remember, the ancient form of this, she's riding a lion, which is synonymous to Africa. You see, and Dravidian, coming up out of Ethiopia, Kush. The modern form, this is the ancient form. She's riding a lion, Durga. Real kick-ass goddess. So it's interesting.